There.
Whoa, it's Chris and Ellen. Hey everybody, how's it going? Portable Trevor here, and today I am so excited for this guest. This is a guy that I've met a couple months ago, and I saw a film of his that just blew me away with his technicality and just skill. Please welcome Chris Ruggiero. What's up, man?
Yo, we're here.
You are here, dude. How you been?
You're portable Trevor, but every time I see you, you're in the same place, just like everyone else. You're just like everyone else now.
Should I change locations every single episode?
Maybe like a green screen, and then you could be anywhere.
I can be at the Eiffel Tower, and then people will be like, "Oh man, he's traveling during COVID. How dare he?"
Yeah, he's living up to the portable name.
Got to live up to my name. Well, dude, it's so good to have you. We got a really great show ahead of you guys. Chris is going to do a little performance for us at the very end, and we're going to show one of his films. But yeah, man, just let's dive into it. So, I met you a couple months ago at this magical place called the Thunderdome, and that's where you premiered this film that you're going to show at the very end. And it's we're going to show it at the end, but I love that you mash like your past and your present and together to make something just so beautiful and so like poetic almost. So I want to like touch on your past. So you kind of grew up as a circus act, as you called it a couple times. So how did you get into that?
Yeah, thanks. And was that the one that we're showing? That's the first one you saw? The
Yeah.
That's so cool. I brought
Mhm.
I right a few moments ago I was like we should show this one because I just love same thing. I kind of loved how that came together in
Mhm.
so people hear circus and juggling and they think like a certain thing, and I've always tried to make what I do a little bit different than the typical like cheesy juggling circus thing that kind of everyone has already seen.
Mhm.
So I started doing when I learned how to juggle when I was a little kid, and just kind of like kept learning and taking it to the next level, and that was kind of always this underlying theme. I was like, I wanted to do juggling. I wanted to make juggling kind of interesting for audiences because juggling is really cool. And I wish TikTok existed like when I was younger, because like juggling is great for TikTok, because like after like 30 seconds, people are like, okay, I get it. You can do a trick. Now what? And so it was interesting to blend that of something that's interesting for a few moments,
Mhm.
but then turn it into like a whole show. So I was doing an hour. I would perform at colleges for an hour, and you can't just juggle and do tricks for an hour. You needed to blend storytelling and audience interaction and just create a really engaging experience. And through me doing my shows, I needed to learn how to make videos because I needed to make promo videos. So that's how I learned how to edit and how to kind of like develop the look that I liked, by just experimenting, throwing a camera up in the back of the room and filming a show and then trying to edit it together and trying to craft this thing. So I learned how to edit in kind of like the hardest way possible by filming myself, and like it almost like how in the old days when you took a photograph and you had to wait a week to see if it was good. So you kind of became a lot more thoughtful about how you're framing up things and how you're creating these images, where now we can just say, yeah, just fire away, just delete them, and I get instant feedback. I wasn't getting instant feedback of like what my shot looked like because I wasn't in it. I was like setting up a camera and then going and doing a show, and then later watching
Mhm.
back, I was like, oh, the camera was not facing the right way. So I became a lot more mindful and intentional about the things that I was making for my show. And then as time went on, I started getting more and more interested in that aspect of creating the videos, and not just videos of me on stage, but utilizing the storytelling and taking juggling out of where we have always seen it on a stage or on the street of someone doing it, but someone doing juggling for a live audience is pretty much how juggling has always been presented. But I kind of liked bringing it into a filmmaking standpoint and making really like cinematic, beautiful juggling bits. And juggling also typically goes hand in hand with comedy. And I didn't ever really like making jokes. It just felt so, like hacky, like doing a juggling trick while saying a joke. I was like, I don't want to do that. And I always had this vision of doing juggling in like a beautiful way and actually being able to tell a story and bring the audience on a journey. And that kind of over many years evolved into this thing that I typically do now, is for the most part with the things that I'm working on, is like really cool artsy looking shots, and then with a voiceover that I write. And then
Mhm.
so it's like it's showing, so it's like all these worlds of things that I like and that I care about, from juggling to filmmaking to storytelling. And then I also like audio stuff, so I get to like play with audio and record the voiceover. So it really, as you said, kind of blends everything that I like to do into this package. um, and what's most fun for me is like there's nobody, I don't know of anyone who's making like artsy juggling voiceover videos ever.
I think that's why that film blew me away because I saw it and I was like, whoa, like juggling can be artsy and cinematic and have a deep message. That was just amazing. So you became a filmmaker kind of out of necessity, as you were saying, you needed to film promotions and you didn't want to pay anyone probably, so you just did it yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. It was also not, and certainly out of necessity of like not having a bunch of extra money to hire somebody. But then
Hmm.
on the other side of that was I would never get what I actually wanted if I would hire somebody also. Like it would be their
Hmm.
vision of it. So even now, like the video that we're going to show later, it was funny. Half the people probably listening will understand what the KTL, that it's a game and there's rules, but it was funny because that the rules of that week's challenge were that you had to film it yourself. And I was like, "Oh, this is for me." And then, but it had like a moving shot on it, and people were like, "What the heck?" Because I have like a motorized slider. That then I was like, "Okay, now I can line up this shot, so it looks like it's like a whole kind of, it looks like it was a bit of a production, but it was literally just me, and I carried all this crap up to the top of a mountain, like set it up, and I think that if there's there's a bit of a lesson in there already of uh out of that necessity of me needing to do it myself. Now, like the videos that I make, hopefully you can tell, like opening scene, oh, that looks like Chris's video. That's my goal. I don't mean to be as obnoxious to say I've accomplished that, but my goal is to say when the first frame of a video pops up, oh, that's Chris's thing. And that's why I've built like this living room set that I've built, and it's kind of like has like kind of distinct branding. Is like I want people to instantly, like the first screenshot that pops up, oh, that's Chris, or that's from Chris's space. So that became pretty important for it to be in the branding aspect of it. I don't particularly love that word of branding. It sounds like cheesy, but like that's really what it is.
Yeah, totally. I mean, if you weren't in the shot right now and I didn't see the Between Dreams logo in the back, I'd probably be like, is this Chris's living room?
Yeah, and it's funny because um I've been doing, like, there's a huge banner on the wall that says Between Dreams, which is my podcast and a lot of the work that I create under that Between Dreams brand. And now
Mhm.
I've been playing a lot with like not ever actually showing it, but
Mhm.
just showing, a corner of it. Like it doesn't, there's no words there. Like the B isn't even there. It's like cut off. But like anyone who knows me or has seen some of my stuff, they're like, oh, that's the Between Dreams space. So it's almost become like more than the words.
And something else to know about Chris, everyone. I've never met anyone who is so dedicated to wearing their branding as much as possible. Every time I see Chris, he's got a Between Dreams something on his body. It's the coolest thing I've ever seen. Like, I'm like, dude, like you are a walking billboard and you're doing it in the best way. It's not obnoxious or anything.
Yeah, I thought it did kind of become a bit of a joke that I was just wearing them all the time. And then I was just
Mhm.
like, if I'm gonna build this like brand that is me,
Mhm.
like I can't be wearing somebody else's brand like ever. So I pretty much, the only time I wear a t-shirt or something that has someone else's brand is if it's like another friend of mine's like podcast or show or like band or something, then I'll wear, like sometimes wear those.
So you'd wear one of my shirts if I made one?
Yeah, make them up. Let's go.
Maybe a few more episodes after this. But yeah, Chris, like, another thing I wanted to talk about, like, so I feel like we should have asked this earlier, but like, so what exactly got, I know you kind of skimmed over like when you were learning juggling. You just kind of said you learned it at a young age, but I kind of want to know like what got you really interested in it and what got you like, what made you like obsess over it? Like you wanted to be the best that you possibly could be at it.
Yeah, interesting how you phrase that too, and I'll dig into it for sure. So first part of that is my dad was like a hobby juggler. He wasn't like
Mhm.
a professional performer or anything, but he had the stuff. He had a unicycle and he had juggling clubs. So I would just, by being a kid and when your dad has toys like that, you learn how to use them and juggle. And I kind of took it to, I kind of like really practiced a lot and worked on it. And it's funny in that I took it to, like professional level. Like that's what I did for several years. I was traveling around doing juggling shows, but I never intended, I actually was like anti becoming a highly technical juggler. Because there's some jugglers, just like there's some filmmakers, just like there's some every thing that you could ever do who really care about perfecting the skill of what it is, like the technical skill. So juggling as an example, there's some people who just practice for 3 4 hours a day and they can juggle 9 balls, like, and they look like a robot because it's perfection. And I was like, I don't want to look like a robot who's juggling. I want it to be scrappy. I want to do 3 objects and I want it to look like I'm about ready. I want it to look like chaos, like I'm about to fall down and it's going to be sloppy. I was like, I really like that. I like that kind of like, I don't know, it's like kind of maybe like the punk rock version of juggling where like, oh, he doesn't even care. Like there's classical guitar players who practice all the time. And then there's punk rock guitar players who are like, I will hit 3 chords and sometimes we won't even hit them, but we'll just keep rocking. Like it doesn't matter. We're going to give the audience energy and the notes don't matter. And I always liked the idea of juggling in the way that the notes don't matter. It doesn't matter if I catch everything. Because what if I drop something and then I can run over, slide on the ground, pick it up, throw it back up in the air? Like that's way cooler than me catching everything. So I always had that attitude of I don't really want to be, and I've talked about this in filmmaking and in everything I do. I have zero interest in being good at anything in the traditional sense of, oh, like learning the skills. Like, yeah, there's fundamentals. Like, yeah, I want my lighting to look right.
Mhm.
Um, but I never in anything I do have ever set out to be better at anything, but I've always set out to be different.
Mhm.
So I think
And that's
that's like a,
what's that's really interesting because like so me and Chris we actually made a film together at a very spur of the moment kind of thing. He came to house shows at our place and I saw these three beer bottles and I was like, Chris, can you juggle these? Because I love the 80s aesthetic. That's like my thing. And he was like, sure. And what was interesting was I didn't expect, and this isn't like a diss on you, but I didn't expect Chris to drop the bottles that many times. And I was just like, wow, like even someone that I think is like a pro like messes up every now and then. But I think that also added to your style because it was like I now that you say that I do realize that now you weren't like throwing the bottles up in the air with like absolute robotic perfection. You were throwing them like Chris would.
yeah, yeah, and I'm aware that that could be taken out of context
Hmm.
and used in people being like, well, who cares? No, I'm going to do it my way. It doesn't need to be good. This is me authentically. And we've all seen people who have that attitude who are doing live stream shows from their living rooms like the past week that are like, well, I'm just going to do it my way. I'm not going to care about quality or buy a
Hmm.
microphone or whatever. So it's like certainly a balance. It's like, and this is another cheesy like take home message type thing, but it's like, yeah, you got to build that foundation and learn the rules so that you can you can choose the ones that you want to break.
Hmm.
And that's the
And
best film.
yeah, my show like isn't 100% original. I mean, this has been done 6,000 times even before the whole quarantine thing. I guess I mean, I still don't really set myself apart too well, but this is like coming from years of doing video work, and like I try to have pretty lights in the background. I try to have my mic sound good, even if my guests sometimes don't. And I think the conversations are unique, like this one.
Yeah, what I was and it's like a balance, and what the episodes that I listened to that you've been doing, I really liked how some hosts will some hosts that want to do this so that they can be on camera and share then talk about themselves, and some hosts decide that they want to highlight others. And what I think you're doing a really good job of is like digging into the sure, you're the host and you're digging into the aspects of the guests ideas and background and past that it's actually interesting to you because you need to be interested, but it's never like driving it back to your message or like
Yeah.
it's not your show. It's like you highlighting, it's the guest's show each time you bring
Mhm.
a guest on. And that's really cool because, it's like that's what the point of having guests is.
Yeah, and I think that's also just because I don't think my story is as interesting as other people's. Like I'm much more interested to hear your story than for me to sit here and be like, well, I come from Cleveland, Tennessee, and then I moved to Atlanta. And sure, I've told that a couple times, but it was to, I guess, push the narrative of my guest on the show.
Yeah.
So,
I
but
just
yeah, back
realized
to
that
you,
I can see the
man.
people commenting here. It's just
Yeah, you
face.
can. Let me, Jonathan. Yes, we do need some merch, but not yet. That is years down the road, probably. Definitely a couple more episodes. And Chase, I should
You could
definitely
just get
call
a
it.
big banner like this.
Yeah, I should, and just kind of hang it over my wall. That would be cool. How much was that?
I don't know. I forget.
It's been a while.
We could do Between Dreams presents Portable Trevor on Twitch
Yes, let's
because I
do
just need my logo everywhere.
it.
I'm
Even though
gonna,
my logo's on it, yours is like somewhere, like
yeah,
on the
I'm just
shirt.
gonna invade where it's not just on me, it's just actually everywhere that I've touched and been.
That's amazing. But yeah, man, so that's a really interesting story about like how you came to juggle. I think I asked you this at a party one time. Do you ever get tired whenever you go to a party if someone's like, dude, you should juggle? Do you ever have like girls or someone come up to you and be like, teach me how to juggle right now? Does that ever get old?
People don't really, that's funny. Like, people don't really ever say, like, teach me how to juggle right now. I think because they think it's harder than it is. But yeah,
Mhm.
it's always kind of a thing of like, hold on, let me wait. Here, can you juggle these? Or like they
A
take
phone
off
and a
their
coffee
shoe or
cup.
something. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like people are just like, well, no, I got some stuff, and I'm like, yeah, I don't really want to do that. It's like if there was a computer engineer or something, they were at a party and you like brought them a bunch of wires and they were like, hey, what can you do with these? You're like, I don't really want to do anything with the wires right now.
Yeah, I guess it's like asking a comedian, or if somebody finds out you're a comedian at a party, they're gonna be like, "Oh, really? Tell us a joke." It's like, "Well,
Yeah.
you're just gonna set me up for failure right away."
Yeah. But yeah, it's fun. I mean, it's cool. It's like but I understand it too. People are like, "Oh, I want to see you do something cool."
Mhm.
So it's a balance. It's kind of like you signed up for it. If you say you're a juggler, you kind of sign up for people asking you to do juggling tricks.
There's a bit in, have you ever seen, I think it's Curb Your Enthusiasm?
I'm like don't I like know some references, but I won't know like a deep reference.
Oh, that's fine. So there's a scene where Larry David, he's like in this locker room and he sees his doctor and he goes up to him and he's like, "Hey, doctor, I think I got some kind of weird rash on the back." And he's like, I'm off the clock." He's like, "No, it'll only take a couple seconds." And he's like, "Larry, what do you do for a living?" And he's like, I'm a writer." And then he's like, "Why don't you go write something?" So that's been my comeback whenever I say like I'm a filmmaker or something, and somebody's like, "Oh, film something right now." Like I've had that happen weirdly. I'll say I'm a filmmaker, and they'll hand me their phone or whatever they have, and they'll be like, "Why don't you film this right now?" And I'm like, no, you're setting me up for failure.
Yeah, also I don't want to.
Yeah, for real. Like that's what I do every day. You think I come to a party to go to work?
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah, it's funny
crazy stuff.
stuff if when people are just like, yeah, but it's interesting though because it's always a thing of like you want to give people if they like it, you don't want to be like, no, I don't want to do that for you.
Mhm.
I don't know. I don't know where the balance is. I don't think I've ever found one as like entertainers, especially. Like, I don't think they can ever find that balance because it's like, yeah, you want to deliver something cool to your audience, but you also need to tell them to stop being obnoxious.
Absolutely. So you've done a lot of shows in your past, like by yourself. I mean, your tag is one man variety show. So how many years did you spend like on tour or just on the road?
I started doing juggling shows, and then there was in I was so I went to college at Penn State,
Hmm.
and I got a degree in secondary education and earth science. So I was when I first
Ooh,
graduated college, I was a substitute teacher at the high school that I went to high school at, which was like really a fascinating thing in itself. When you're like in the faculty lounge
mhm.
eating lunch with like the teachers that you had, because then you realize that they're just like people that are just like talking about nonsense and um, very very fascinating. But then I was doing like gigs, and then I got this show performing for the troops, the military troops overseas in on this island called Diego Garcia, which is in the middle of the Indian Ocean, and it's like this
Whoa.
crazy. It takes like a because you fly from to Singapore, and then you fly or from I flew from New York City to Tokyo, from Tokyo to Singapore, then from Singapore out to this island on this like private military plane, and it was incredible. One of the craziest things I've ever done. I was
What's
out
a
there for
private plane like?
so it wasn't even like a private plane like you're imagining. It was like a private plane like it was this like military plane. Private
Gotcha.
plane in
Okay.
that private plane in that like it wasn't like a Delta flight. It was like this sketchy old airplane that was just
Okay, so
like
not luxurious.
no, it was like the opposite because it was just like, yeah, there's some people that need to go to the military base. Like throw them on the
Oh
throw them
man.
on this thing. And it was just like I remember it being really, really cold in the plane because like
Mhm.
the climate control stuff. They're probably yeah, turn the air on, and it turns into like 40 degrees in the plane. They're like, yeah, that's what you're gonna get. It's either gonna be too hot or too cold. But it was really cool, and it kind of just came. I don't want to say it came out of the blue because I did like applications for it and stuff. But one of the other people that were supposed to go on the tour dropped off like 3 weeks before, so it kind of got put into my lap. And the show, it was like me, and it was a stand-up comedian, and we were going over out there over the 2 weeks that the Super Bowl was, to give the troops a little taste of home. So it was me, stand-up comedian, and then there was 6 NFL cheerleaders that went just to like make it feel like the Super Bowl. um,
That's
so we had this
awesome.
like crazy lineup of like and we were all like flying over there together, and we were going to be there for 2 weeks. And I got paid like a bigger check than I had ever gotten paid before in my life for 2 weeks of doing juggling shows, especially. Um, and I like made the decision that I was not, I was like, if I can do this, this is like a crazy thing, like flying literally to the other side of the world with like this tour and getting paid like a real money to do it. I was like, if I can do that, I think I can do anything that I want in entertainment world. And that was like the turning point of like people say, I was like, oh, you just need that one thing to like lead you over the edge of doing it. And I made that decision. I was like, when I went out on that show, I was like, I'm never going back to the school to be a substitute teacher ever again. And and so far, I still haven't gone out. That was in 2012. So in 2012, I decided I'm not going to do like school teaching. I'm going to do showbiz stuff. And since then, it was like certainly ups and downs of that world. But I got to do, I was traveling around performing at colleges for college students, doing like corporate events, like private events, conferences, and things like that. And then in some year after that, I got some cool, like I got an appearance on the Ellen show, which was like super, super cool.
Whoa.
Um, Here, you want to see a photo?
Absolutely.
I think we can do this. Wait, let's see if I know how to use tech. All right, I'll stop. I'll
Did you get
share
to
this
hang with
screen.
Ellen,
Not
or did you just
really.
kind of perform?
Yeah, not really. Uh, oh, can you see that?
Yeah, let me pull that up.
There.
Whoa, it's Chris and Ellen.
So these are just like my Facebook photos, obviously. So yeah, so I did this like epic or fail where I say I'm going to do a trick, and then they vote epic or fail, and Ellen was like, "Ah, yours is epic." So like that was awesome. And then we'll just do this in real time. Then I started getting like cool things, and like there's me with Jack Black backstage at this
Dude.
thing, and then there was like we did this show with like this Martha Stewart, LL Cool J. We're juggling meatballs right there on Martha Stewart's TV show. So LL Cool J is like, "Yo, let me see these," and he thought they were like fake prop meatballs. But like I hand him these meatballs and they were like real meatballs. And he goes, "Damn, these greasy as hell." And then there was this meme after we did it that was me. It was like this like GIF meme. That was me
Mhm.
handing LL Cool J meatballs and him going, "Damn, these greasy as hell."
Dude, you were a meme. That's amazing. What year was that?
It was like a couple of years ago. It was probably, I think, I don't know. This was posted on 2017. It wasn't that. It was a couple years ago, but not that long
Mhm.
ago. But there was cool stuff. Here's then like me on James Corden's show. I did a
That's
little
cool.
trick for him. Um, and then yeah, I mean it was like really cool stuff. And then like doing shows. This is me doing shows for a bunch of kids. Looked like all excited. It's like at a church youth group type event. So
Nice.
again, not to be uh yeah, I mean, uh, I could go through like endless cool things that would just make it look like I was bragging. So we won't do that. But the point of it was like some really cool opportunities happened.
Mhm.
And I think, and who knows why, good timing, good preparation. I had good promo videos because I was making my promo videos in a way that other people weren't making them. So it was standing out in a way. And I think I really grabbed the attention of a lot of those like TV shows and people who gave me a lot of cool opportunities. Not because I was a better juggler, like on any of the appearances or shows or anything that I did. I never did anything that all the other jugglers couldn't do or learn how to do. But I think the way that I presented it and the way that I even communicated with pitching the ideas to the TV producers and all that, they were like, "Oh, he gets it. He's trying to be unique and a little bit different." So it wasn't so much of a "Hey, I'm better than the other people," but they were like, "Oh, this is unique. He has at least he has a point of view and a perspective that he's bringing," and that allowed me to get some like again like some just like crazy once in a lifetime opportunities. Um,
That's awesome.
so so yeah, that so like 2012, I made the decision I'm gonna do this. And then things started happening, and then it was like, yeah, okay, I decided to do this, but then like things suck sometimes. As anyone who does anything creative world or in any world, you're like, yeah, sometimes like stuff's awesome, and then stuff's not awesome.
Mhm.
So it was certainly ups and downs, but I felt like every time I was like, "Oh, this is awesome," then you go back down the ride to like the bottom of you're just like hustling and nothing's working. And it just always felt like every time that I was at the bottom of like, I was like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. Like I haven't made any money in a while, and then like it just felt like every time that happened, like another TV show would throw me on. I would be like, and it would like invigorate like my energy, where I'd be like, oh, cool, yeah, this is what I need. And it just felt like this magical thing. Like every time I felt like I was at rock bottom, like this cool opportunity or some new big gig would come through. And like, cool, you're back in it. Like, and it almost felt like the world just being like, you need to appreciate the ups and downs. And there's always going to be, you know, the ride back up. Probably the most relevant time to talk about that, as you know, most people are like, wait, we don't know what the future is right now. And it's like it's an interesting one, because before now everyone kind of had their ups and downs independently. Like some people are rocking like with gigs or their job or whatever, while other people are like down in the dumps and not feeling so good.
Mhm.
And this is like an interesting time of like the entire world. Everyone's like, oh crap, this kind of sucks,
Yeah.
because the world has shut down. But my favorite part about what's going on right now is like, yeah, of course, like it's not ideal what's happening, but now it's sparking like, you've probably been thinking about doing a live talk show on Twitch for like years. And now this is
Absolutely.
like sparking all this new creativity from people, and like this like forcing people to reinvent. Like I wasn't doing as much live streaming or anything. Like I like set up more stuff here. I was like, oh, now I have to do it. So it's like, in a way, it's cool. For me, it's cool to see people that said they wanted to do a YouTube show for the past 7 years. Now
Mhm.
they're like, okay, now I actually don't have an excuse that I'm too busy or that I don't have time or whatever their excuse is. So it's like making people do stuff. So, you know, kind of in the same way, it's like that idea of like rock bottom forces, you know, I got nothing to lose, so I'm gonna go all in, like go for broke. Like I see the world doing that now. Like, yeah, screw it. What I mean, it can't get worse than me being stuck in my house and not knowing if I have a job next week. So like, might as well do the thing that I've been thinking about doing for 5 years. So that's what's cool, you know, for like your thing, and obviously like everyone who's now finally doing the stuff that they want to do. I think it's really cool.
Absolutely. And I would say like, because I've had a lot of creative people like message me and say, "Hey, like what you're doing is inspiring," and I'm only this is literally episode 9, and um, I don't consider myself an inspirational person, but I'm also very blessed in my situation because I have a full-time job and I'm able to do this in the evening. So it's really not that hard for me to do. This is actually the easiest creative endeavor I've ever dived into. So the fact that so many people have so much time to do stuff and some people just feel bad that they're not doing anything, like take care of your shit first. Like seriously, like that's so much more important. Like please, I hope you're able to like feed yourself and you're able to just live, because that's far more important than, you know, making a video or entertaining people.
Yeah, and it's certainly a balance. I've been trying to be mindful of not being too much of like too much like of a jerk about like being like, go do stuff, you have all this time, because I'm like, okay, I understand that some people are worried about like, you know, paying rent and buying groceries and, you know,
Yeah,
paying for their family or people that are responsible for. So I've been kind of playing that balance, and it's been interesting to me of like, you know, what that means of like, where does that line get drawn of like, hey, you should be hustling more now than ever because this is a cool opportunity, but also like maybe this is a good break. If you've been hustling really hard for the past 10 years, like maybe this is what you needed, is to like just chill out for 3 weeks.
absolutely. And honestly, like this was the break that I needed to be able to do this because before, sure, I had my full-time job, but in the evenings, I was always like looking to hang out with people, or I would go just do something stupid that didn't have anything or that wouldn't have increased my life by any means. But to be able to do this, I love it, and I'm sorry I keep like bringing it back to me.
This
So,
is your show.
but
Get a
you're my
banner
guest.
behind to remind people.
This is my show, damn it. It looks like if somebody joined right now with no context, I think people would think this is your show just looking at your background.
Everyone
But
thinks
no, I'm
mine is a
on.
green screen, but it's really there. Those light bulbs are really
People
there.
said that.
I think, yeah, because it just looks so fake.
It kind of does, but I mean, I know it's real, which
It's
makes it
like kind
cooler.
of far away too, like especially where I am right now.
Hmm.
Like it's kind of far away, but then I have to do this. I have to show people.
Yeah, prove to everyone that this is real.
I need like an assistant that can just like hit a light bulb every once in a while.
Can I get an assistant? Need to prove that this is real? Go.
I need it on a string so I can just pull the string and say, "Hey, those light bulbs are real." Meticulously placed just in the right spot too.
Joke's on you guys. This isn't my bedroom. This is actually a green screen. But yeah, Chris, so to go back to, I know you said you didn't want to feel like you're bragging, but I feel like that's just not an experience everyone can relate to, or something. It's not any every something that everyone's been through. So, what's it like to get those emails or letters or whatever you got to say like, "Hey, we want you to come on TV." What does that process look like?
Letters is a funny thing to get as an invitation to a TV show, by the way.
Have you gotten them?
No. I
Well,
would love
I
I
was like,
wish it
maybe
came as like a birthday card, as like a birthday invitation, and it's a pop out one.
like a
Surprise.
pop-up book.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I feel like just television is so outdated now in so many aspects. I could see them like sending letters still.
Yeah. They're like with an envelope in it, like, please respond, and then you have to mail it back. It takes like 3 weeks.
Do you like me? Yes or no?
And then when they respond back, it's like another week.
Oh man, I hope they like me.
Now
That's
we're
awesome.
making fun of old people.
Get over it, boomers. Anyway, so what does that process look like, man?
So that it's very fascinating to me because and so many people ask me that of like, oh, how did you do it? I get it now of people that say, hey, how did you what do I need to make my live stream look good? And it's like you'd make films, you do audio, you spent a lot of time and energy thinking about things, and people say the same thing. How'd you get on Ellen? And it's the same question of, hey, how do I make my live stream look good? And I'm like, okay, well, I have been buying cameras for the past 15 years to figure out the one that I like and the lens that I like and how to where to put it. And then I started making a living room set years ago and building it out and testing different lighting, and here's how I do the lighting. And it was so much relevance to booking like a TV show or something. I sent Ellen producers a video of me doing a trick that I thought would be really cool in the show. And I actually got a response back pretty quickly, and they were like, "This is awesome." And they like asked me if I could come out. I was living in Pennsylvania at my parents' place at the time, and they were like, "Can you come to LA and like be on the show?" And I was like, "Yeah, of course. Like that's sweet." And then it just kept falling through. They would be like, "Cool, we need to, it's like needs to go up through the chain to the final thing of being on a big TV show." Is like a bit of a process. So it kind of just happened several times where they were like, "Hey, we still have you in mind. We're doing this like cool segment that we're going to use like juggling trick type stuff. So can you come out next week?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure." They're like, "Okay, cool. We have some meetings. We'll let you know." And it would fall through. And then but instead of just waiting for them to call me back the following season, I kept sending them new ideas. I kept sending them videos of me doing little variations of juggling tricks, and I knew, so it was a balance. I knew I needed to keep bothering them, quote, bothering them, but with so that they were thinking about me, but not in a way of, hey, did you see my video? Hey, checking in, did you see my video? It was, they need new ideas. They're in the business of making a TV show every day, so they just need fresh ideas. So I decided that instead of saying, hey, did you see my video? Hey, are you still thinking about me? I'd give them what they need is fresh ideas. So I would go in the backyard and film a juggling video and send it. Hey, I just thought this might be cool for you guys to think about. Maybe this will spark some ideas. Um, and that was I did that for 5 years,
Wow,
and
5 years?
I emailed them for 5 years before I was on the Ellen show.
That's
And
insane.
just completely sending them, hey, thought this might be cool. Hey, thought this might be cool. Hey, thought this might be cool. Sometimes they would respond like, hey, yeah, that's great. Most of the time, just nothing. But
Mm.
I had that line of communication because they reached out to me at one point. So I knew they were looking at the emails, and I knew they're going to need a juggler in some bit at some point on that show. And when they are in a meeting and they say, "What? Oh, we're going to do this bit. It'd be cool to have a. What if a guy was juggling fire or something?" And then the producer that I know, because I've been sending him emails, he's gonna be like, I'm gonna make him the hero of his meeting because he's like, oh yeah, I can text the guy who juggles fire right now because he's been sending me cool ideas for the past 5 years. So I didn't solve my problems, and I think that's just like, again, I don't want to be too preachy and like give motivational speech on all of this, but it's so relevant. Like everything that we want to do, whether that's filmmaking, whether you want to be an actor, whether you want to be a TV host, whether you want to be a podcast host, like the moment that it's going to work and you're going to get the thing that you want is the moment that you solve someone else's problem instead of solving your own. And that happened in everything I ever did. Um, I solved that producer's problem in that meeting. They were like, "Hey, we probably use a juggler who's going to juggle fire." He's like, "Yeah, I got the guy," and he always emails me right back. Like I know he's going to email me back because he's been in my inbox every week for the past 5 years. And then I got an introduction. So when it happens, it's almost like it's awesome to me when it happens, but it's like I'm not like, "Oh, I can't believe this happened." I'm like, I'm ready for it. I'm like, cool. Now it's time to, you know, turn on the lights and open up the curtain and do the show. This is the moment I've
Mhm.
been waiting for. I wasn't ever unprepared for those moments. Same things with James Corden. I had a direct contact with a producer at James Corden show because of another thing that I was doing. I like built that connection, and so I got like a personal introduction to one of the producers there that was responsible for that segment. And I said, hey, here's some ideas. I sent them like 3 videos of different tricks that I could do for their show. And they were like, yeah, that's not really the fit that we want. So blah, blah, blah. They needed something. I knew where they were going with what they wanted. And my first ideas weren't right. And they responded to me because like I was helping them. Like we're all in this together. It's not like, hey, I want to be on your show and you keep telling me no. It's like, no, we're building a TV show that needs to be awesome because a lot of people are going to see it. I'm not
Mhm.
battling you because you keep telling me no. You're telling me no because I need to have a better solution to your problem. So now you didn't tell me no because you rejected me. You told me no because I need to get better or I need to be different. And in that, that's why I never lost. That's what Ellen did. And Ellen's producers, they never said, hey, stop sending us emails, you're bothering us. They were like, hey, when it's right, we're calling you back. And so that first email to James Corden, and then it started this conversation. I did the same thing for them. I sent them a juggling video every week or two from my living room of just like, if I had an idea, I would literally like, I would be like sitting, I would like grab an iPad and like spin it on my finger and I'll like film it and like send it over to them. Like, hey, I was just like sitting on my couch and like thought of this. This might be a cool idea. Like, let me know if that's in line with what might work. And they're like, nah, it's not right. Like, cool. And like the next week I would be like doing something. I'd like balance on something in the kitchen and like, oh, that's cool. Send this over. And then I did that for a year. I sent them every idea I had for a year. And they kept saying, no, it's not right. It's not right. It's not right for the show. We want it to be a little bit this, a little bit this. Then it got to the point where it's like, I don't have any more ideas. Like I've sent them literally everything that I could think of that I could do as a trick with like random objects. And then I get this email out of the blue quotes for the people that are just listening. And it's from the producer at the James Corden Late Late Show. And he said, hey man, we're putting together the segment. Like obviously we have you in mind because you can just like do everything, because I just sent them a video of me doing everything I could possibly think of or imagine. So I kept sending them those things. And then he was like, what if you did. So the thing was, they didn't want it to look like I was a professional entertainer. They wanted it to look like they just like found a random guy to do a trick.
Mhm.
So he told me, he was like, what if you did this? And the trick was like toss a glass of water in the air, spin around, catch it without spilling it. Because it looks like just a party trick that anyone might try. And so I love that story because I presented them with all the ideas I could ever imagine. And then they came to me and told me their idea. So he could have presented that idea. So he came up with his own idea. Oh, toss the glass of water up in the air, spin around, catch it. That was his idea. I had nothing to do with it. And he has the ability to email any entertainer in the world and say, hey, I came up with this idea that I think would be cool with the glass of water and the spin. Can you do it? He's never seen me do anything like that. I thought it would be cool. Can you do it? And out of every entertainer in the world that the Late Late Show has access to, that producer emailed Chris Ruggiero because he had faith that Chris Ruggiero would be able to deliver, not because Chris Ruggiero is anything special, but because Chris Ruggiero said, I'm going to solve your problems. And every week I'm going to give you an idea that your problem might not be answered by my dumb trick that I'm doing in the living room, but I have faith that my dumb trick that I'm doing in the living room might spark that idea for you to solve it however you need to. And he felt that I was actually on his side. It wasn't me against him. I was on his side to help him solve his problem, so that next day he was the hero and he got a round of applause. He said, that last night's segment was awesome. You did a good job building that with those acts. So from the ground up, everything is solving someone else's problem and making them the hero.
I love that outlook on that because how many times have you gotten this whenever you tell this story? You're so lucky. How many times have you gotten that?
Oh yeah, or it's that paired with, hey, who's the email contact to get on Ellen? And I'm like, the email, like, go on the website. It tells you right there.
Mhm.
That's what I did. The email contact isn't the answer. Getting lucky isn't the answer. It's, are you going to spend 5 years helping them solve a problem? And the answer most people say is no.
Yeah, it seems like people thought you got this magical scroll that came from Ellen, like writing to your house, and you like opened it. There was angels singing and everything, and you were like, "I'm the luckiest guy in the world." It's like, no, you can totally do this. It's maybe it's a little bit of luck, like you'd have to admit that, but it sounds like, and it makes me respect you so much more. Like you were persistent and you worked hard. Like you didn't just let the email go, or you didn't let like them saying this isn't the right time get to your head. Like you kept persisting and you were like, let me try something different. And I love that. I'm definitely going to clip that and be like, solve their problem, not your own. That's so cool,
Yeah,
man.
100%. And you nailed it on that of, um, like, it's never, I had a thought that I just lost. Clip that part. Oh, he's an idiot.
Okay.
I think it was just related into that of, like that thing of like people saying, "Oh, you're lucky," and people think the acts. Oh, going back down to the email thing, I wanted to double down on that. People think like having the email address is the answer, and it's especially now because we have LinkedIn and it's like crazy who you can get access to on LinkedIn and Twitter. Back then, I
Mhm.
had to like. So this is funny. Back then, on this initial Ellen thing, this is years ago. There was a form on her site that was like, "Do you know somebody who we should hear about?" And I was like, "Yeah, me." And they're like, "Send us a video if they do something cool." And it was at the point of I couldn't submit like a YouTube link. They had like this form and I had to upload the video to their form
What?
instead of submitting a link. So this was like, that many years ago. Not that many years ago, but it was several years ago. And I remember, who knows what my parents' house internet. And I remember going outside on like some sort of camera. Like I didn't have an iPhone, I don't think.
Hmm.
and filming this thing, and then like having an SD card or something, plugging a USB into the computer. Who knows how I was doing it at that point? Like not editing it, like just
Hmm.
uploading the clip straight out of the camera, and it would take like 35 minutes to upload to their dumb form that they had on their site, and then
Jeez.
like 3 or 4 times every time it would like fail halfway through, and it'd be like upload failed. I'm like, I have no idea why that happened, but I guess I'll just sit here and try it again. And it was like that was the amount of, and it was just like, okay, well, what else am I gonna do? Give up?
And that's also like cool because you didn't give up then. Like there's so many reasons why people give up on things, and it's the reasons that you keep going that make your story more interesting.
What's the This is episode 9 of your podcast,
Yeah,
and you started like 2 weeks ago,
1 week ago. Last
1 week ago. So
yeah,
it's the
last
same.
Tuesday.
So it's the same thing to you. Like I would love to see the actual real data about it, but there's, how they say there's like 500, 500,000 podcasts on the
Mhm.
Apple Store or whatever. But I would
I'm
love to
surprised there's
see.
not more.
Yeah, and yeah, there probably is now. This week that now it doubled. But
Definitely went up.
the amount of those podcasts that have under 10 episodes, I can guarantee is the majority,
Mhm.
because people were like, "Oh, I want to do this," and then they got frustrated and then they stopped doing it. So it's like that's what I've been impressed with you, of like you didn't like do 2 of them and be like, "Oh, sweet, I'm awesome. I have a podcast or Twitch show, whatever we want to call it." Is like doubling down, and like I know it's not easy to like reach out to people and coordinate schedules. It looks like you just hop on the internet and talk to people, but it's like a lot of work. You got to set up that light in the background. You got to get your mic set up. Then we hop on 3 minutes before this thing because I'm late, and then the mic's not working. My mic's not working, and I'm like, oh, oops. There's all these like work and things that do, and it's like, and like you decided that it's worth it for you to show up, and that's really like important and powerful. And I think you said you don't want to be, you know, you don't want to set yourself as that motivational thing or inspiring thing. And it's like, I think what's cool is like you don't need to ever give a motivational speech or say anything motivating to be a really inspiring person. You need to show up and show people that showing up is really inspiring and powerful, and a really like strong role model for people. And a lot of my content is more like on the nose. I'm like telling people go do it, but like I think maybe even a more powerful message is shut up and do it so people can see that it's possible, and that's pretty
Mhm.
inspiring thing.
And this is definitely not a knock on you, but I've never been one to um, look up to super like on the nose motivational people, but like the people that inspire me the most are the artists that I look up to, the people that are doing stuff in the world. And if you're a motivational speaker and if you do a motivational podcast, then that's great. Like your Between Dreams thing is inspiring because you're like I mean if it was you sitting in your bedroom going like go do it, you can do it, but you don't do it. You bring in people that are doing it and you're like, "Hey, look, if these people can do it, uh like you can do it too." So, yeah, that's actually my next question. So, um, I remember asking you like, "What does between dreams mean?" Because it sounded like kind of ambiguous at first, but then you put it in this like poetic sentence, and I was just like, "Dang, I wish I could come up with stuff like that." So, what does it mean?
Yeah, and it's funny because people are like, because it feels like between jobs, kind
Hmm.
of like this limbo time. And it's actually pretty much the opposite, in that a lot of us, including me and everyone who ever thought about doing something or creating something or making something that didn't exist, live a lot of their life in a dream, thinking about something. Oh, I want to write a book. Everyone in the world wants to write a book. Everyone in the world wants to start a podcast. Everyone in the world wants to have their own YouTube channel. In some level, everyone wants some level of that. Pretty much everyone has said something along those lines, particularly in the creative field. And the tagline that you're looking for, which I won't even get it right because it's not really a very well established line, but it was like, yes, those big dreams and big ideas are important, but the only thing that actually matters is what you do between dreams. So have those big dreams at night or during the day or whenever, and then between dreams, take action, live, and make those dreams real. So it's not about being between jobs. It's like, it kind of has that idea of like, oh, like figure the next thing out. It's not about figuring the next thing out. It's about dreaming big dreams every day and then doing something between them.
Beautiful. I love it. So what kind of guests do you usually have on your show?
On the Between Dreams podcast.
Yeah. And you also have a virtual variety show now. That's pretty kick-ass.
Yeah, that's super fun. I love that.
Yeah, please keep doing it. I love the first couple of things you did. That was so dope.
Yeah, thank you. So,
Mm.
I love the so I'm just taking over your podcast here, or
Yeah, be
your
my
Twitch
guest.
show. I am your guest. I did it already.
And now you're the host.
And now it's mine. So we're using StreamYard right now, and StreamYard is crazy because if you post a link, like anyone can join. If you just click on a link and you can join. And
Yeah, I love that.
on my stream last night, I just posted the link in the comments, and I had 5 people. And everyone was just talking. I had like a whole screen. It was like a fun party. It was actually really cool. I was just letting I just publicly posted the link, so whoever wanted to join could join.
Oh, nice.
And I like don't have it wasn't like random people. It was like all my friends that popped in.
Right. You got it?
Oh yeah, so I'm working on it.
He's working on it, ladies and gentlemen.
All right, can you see that? Yeah, now you can pop that up. I think my screen.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, there we go.
Oh shoot, he's got a website.
So what? How'd you do that? Here on the internet? Sponsored by Squarespace. I wish.
Me too.
So I just brought this up because I wanted to show kind of like what types of guests have, and I kind of made the decision that it's not going to be super niche down. It's just people who are thinking about ideas and taking action on doing them. People who are making things happen. So like Ace is like a big TikToker who has, 2 or 3 million followers on TikTok. So we talked about how that new world of TikTok is. Isaac, you can see Isaac there. A lot of the people that are listening to this will know Isaac as the leader, the king of the Thunderdome. I like that.
And he's also been a guest on here. He was awesome too.
Former guest of this show. I like calling him the king of Thunderdome. That's pretty fun.
I'm sure he would love that too.
So I won't go through all this, but just as an example, like Sky Cowens is like a big YouTuber. She does like a lot of healthy living lifestyle. Jenny is the face and person of Kia cars last year. So she was in all the Kia commercials. So she's like doing really cool stuff. It's my friend Megan. She does like really stuff. She sells tea out of a trailer, which is pretty great. Jade's a big YouTuber. This guy Mario right here he's a magician, and he was David Blaine's opening act on the worldwide tour last year. So he's like he's a kids magician. So he does kids show tricks, which doesn't seem like it would pair well with David Blaine, but David Blaine was so amazed by the way that he connected with audiences that he invited him to be his opening act. So Mario's a good buddy of mine. A lot of these people are like college entertainers. They do shows at colleges. Thinkers. Kyle's just like a thinker. He like just really has like good thoughts. Musicians. There's a bunch of magicians. Magic here. Justin Willman has a show on Netflix called Magic for Humans, which is a huge Netflix show. So he's a buddy of mine. some more magicians, and then those were like the big ones. And then it was cool because it was cool to see too, like how it started looking like garbage, and then the evolution of how it just like got better looking as I made more podcast episodes. And
Mhm.
then and it was even cool to see then, like, oh, then back in the day there wasn't video and it was just audio, and then it was like I had like a pretty deep level of the amount of um guests on just audio podcasts. You know, there's like we go we go way back um to the point
Jeez, a
of,
lot of episodes.
yeah, and it's
Plenty of
crazy. There was
content
like,
to listen to while you're in quarantine right now.
yeah, so that's 87 episodes of that podcast.
Wow.
So it's just all people who are doing crazy stuff, and it's like those people helped shape what's cool for you now just starting, and 9 episodes in is like the people that you'll talk to will like shape your viewpoint.
Mhm.
And it's so cool of like every conversation that we have with somebody is so cool that it like helps shape our ideas and our vision and what we're creating. And then being able to share that with, you know, if there's 8 people watching, that's like pretty awesome. Like it feels sometimes like on my live stream, sometimes there's literally like 8 people watching. I'm like, oh, what the heck? I want like 500. But like it's pretty sweet to have, 3 people that care to like
Mhm.
share that experience. So I think it'll be really
Like, we
cool
have
for.
7 right now, and I'm genuinely blown away, so, um, last summer, I actually tried to be a Twitch streamer, and I don't know why I thought I could be a big Twitch streamer with just doing it from my just from my PlayStation with a crappy webcam, and I was getting, like, 2 views at the most, so the fact that I'm getting 7, and I think the most I've had so far is, like, 14, like, I'm grateful for that. If that was that way for the rest of the year, I would be stoked. I'd be like, "Wow, 14 people are interested in seeing what I'm talking about and the kinda guest I'm bringing in."
Yeah.
Totally.
People
But
are
hey,
texting me. People are texting me right now that are watching this.
oh, that's cool. Kid the
So
Furious. Lucky 7, what's up, man? And Mary Beth texted me, "You're rocking it." She sent me a video.
nice.
Shout out to her.
We could
But
just
hey,
we could just be on our phones looking at the people that are telling us we're awesome.
yeah, let's just play on our phones the rest of the time.
How long do
But hey,
these go? Do you shut these down at an hour?
usually
We're at an hour already.
yeah, usually around an hour, like, I mean, Isaac's was an hour and 45 minutes, but I think it's usually a good time. But, yeah, I think this is a good time to show off your, skills, Chris, so are you ready, man?
Yeah, let me unplug that. All
Mhm.
right. Okay, now I'm off headphones. All right.
Oh, no, you can't hear us.
No, I can. I
Oh,
unplugged them
shoot.
so I can hear
Oh, I
you.
thought you just took them off.
Shut you guys off. So I'm going to turn that up and then watch this trick.
Oh, shoot, it's going mobile.
We're going mobile. So, oh, this is crazy. Look, I used this little Rode Video Micro as my mic. I was like
Mhm.
super scrappy on this. But anyway, we'll show you guys the so this is kind of cool because people think like that I have like that people sometimes don't believe me that I'm in like my living room, and because it like looks cool, but I'll show like how scrappy the whole thing actually is. Like coming over and did I lose it? I'm still in. Okay, I'm still in.
Nope, still in.
So like I'm on like that's my streaming setup. Like things are set up by books. There's an aperture light dome there. There's a quasar tube up there, and then there's sound blankets over there, and there's all just like production stuff over here. So
Nice.
so I think it's just kind of cool to see. Oh, mics are falling down. I think it's kind of cool to see like the behind the scenes of it too, because people are like, oh, this is awesome. Then I'm like, no, it's super scrappy, and like we just make it work how I need to.
Behind the dreams.
Behind the dreams.
Nice. That is such a cool set, man. I love it.
So if I move this up here, it's so funny because if I was going to do like a juggling video in here, I'd have to like set it up completely different. But, oh, that looks cool, right?
I like it.
You guys can kind of see me.
Chris Ruggiero, everyone.
All right, shout out a trick and I'll do it, or comment it under the legs.
Over your head.
Over your head. All right,
He's
this
really going.
Under the leg.
Kickflip.
Kickflip. Wait. Oh, this. So there is a good kickflippy one, but it's in the video that we're gonna show. But like it's like you can go like down there on your foot and kick it back up. I don't know if you can see it.
Whoa.
Good.
Yeah, kind of glitched. Can you do it again?
Oh wait, here. Hold on. Let me. Oh.
James said juggle 69 pins on fire.
Here we go. Watch behind the back catch. Boom.
Ooh.
Here we go. This is one of my favorites. A weird little catch. Ooh.
That's cool.
Guys, hold on. This just fell. It's not going to work.
Chase said do the 1-up, 2-up thing. Got a balancing act now.
I just wanted to prove that it's not a green screen. 1, 2-up thing.
Woo! Very nice, dude. That was right. I didn't know you could do some of those.
I have it. Oh, that's Between Dreams, you guys. That's branding right there. Why wasn't I like this the whole time? Could have been advertising.
The whole time. James said do heads up, 7-up. You guys are just trolling him now. He wanted to do a real trick. Okay, so yeah, let's show your
picking me. Where is everyone? I thought we were playing.
I'm on my way.
You guys, it feels like I'm here all alone. What a cruel trick, James.
This sounds like my dad said we were playing heads up, 7-up, and then he never came back. So Chris, we have a so we didn't want to just show you that to show how cool Chris is, even though he is, but I kind of wanted to show that, or ask Chris to juggle for me for the sake of you know, not only is he a juggler, he's also a filmmaker, and he was able to blend those two worlds together very poetically and beautifully, I think, in this film that we're going to show right now.
All right, yeah, let me. We rehearsed this.
We did, and then he pulled up 60 other things.
And then I kept showing you all kinds of other nonsense.
It wasn't nonsense. It definitely sounded like you were showing me cat videos or something.
Oh, I told you I was going to show you a juggling video, but what I was really, my grand plan.
Kid the Furious, Chris is a filmmaker / juggler, yes. What do you call this film?
I'll tell you after, or it might
Okay.
pop up when I hit play, so it's okay.
Sure.
And I think we should have audio. If it doesn't have audio, yell at me.
In our dreams, everything is possible. If we can imagine it, we can do it. There's no gravity. At least, not that we have to obey the rules of. But eventually, we wake up and realize gravity is real. But the best part is that's okay.
Hey, that was awesome, man.
Thank you. It's gonna
So there was a
auto-
little bit of an echo, but I kind of thought it was okay. I think it kind of added to it. You should have put an echo effect on the original. But all good
Maybe
though.
it's
Yeah,
like-
tell me about the process of making that. So I think the rules were like maybe one person, you can only make it on your own, and a certain amount of shots. And you took that to a whole nother level. If you guys notice, the camera is moving. There is and Chris was still all by himself. So how did you make that happen?
Yeah, so if I actually remember it, it wasn't. I think that one wasn't shots, but I think it was the camera can't move more than 10 feet.
Yeah, that
So-
sounds right.
One person and the camera can't move more than 10 feet. So typically that would mean it would be like a selfie thing if you have to do it yourself. So I used 2 different camera angles. So like there was a tight and then there was a wide. And I kind of shot the sequence a few times, and they all were on a motorized slider. So like the people
Do
who
a
aren't
little show and tell.
filmmakers don't know what a motorized slider is. It's this thing the camera sits on here, and then this thing goes like this. So you get motion out of your shot, and this hooks up to like there's a thing that hooks into there that you can be battery powered. So it can do that via battery on the top of a mountain, and you can get a really cool sliding shot as you saw in that. So that was my way of hacking the system of, pretty much everyone that night had static tripod shots because it had to be done by yourself. And I thought that would be a really cool thing. And so process wise, I typically film videos like that first. I'll sometimes have a general idea of what the story is, but I'll typically try to capture the visuals first. And then usually, almost always, I write those voiceovers about halfway through the edit. I'll have like a pretty close idea of what the edit is, and then I'll just hear the story when I'm watching the edit. I'll be like, "Oh, that would be cool. What if I said this?" And sometimes I'll just watch it, and then I'll do a voice memo into my phone of like a scratch track to get to know kind of how the timing needs to be, and then I'll hop over and just record the voiceover. And again, like for me, at like midnight to 2 a.m., those voiceovers usually it's like the most emotional that I can, it's just like a weird emotional time in the middle of the night. And so there's not a bunch of like distractions. So I kind of just like jam through some thoughts and ideas. And almost always I think of them as like a scratch track, which would be what you throw away when you record the final version. And almost always I've never deleted the scratch track and never made the final version because I like the scratch track version enough to keep it. But
Yeah.
almost everything that anyone has seen from me, like what you've heard as the voiceover, was 100% intended to be the throwaway. Like, let me just get this down to figure out the timing and like figure it out, and then I'm like, okay, well, I just can't record it better than that, so I'll just use the one that I just made.
Chris actually helped me make a film for the Thunderdome one time, and I wanted to do a voiceover, kind of like I didn't want to steal his style, but it's kind of
But you
hard to
did.
explain. Yeah, totally, because he filmed it. No, I'm kidding. So, but what ended up happening, so I was asking him for advice on doing voiceovers, and I like had this whole thing written out because the films can only be a minute, and I had this like huge paragraph that I wanted to say, and Chris was like, "Say as little as you can, but have the message be bigger." He was like, "A lot of this is just like white noise." So the final product of the film, literally all I say is it's worth it. And Chris came up to me afterwards. He's like, "Yes, that was it." He was like, "You figured it out," and that felt so good because, like, I'm not a voiceover artist by any means, and I'm definitely not a writer or a poet or anything. But it, I feel like that's what I was called to do, or I am called to do with filmmaking, is to like have my voice be heard. Whether, and I'm, like I said, I'm not the most inspiring person, but um, that's for that film. I don't know where I'm going with this, but that film was just it was really cool to collaborate with you on that.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I loved seeing that come together. I feel like your original idea, and I totally like hijacked your idea and what you were trying to do with it to make it a little bit more mine, maybe. Um, but I think what this is bothering me. Oh, that's going to be right in everyone's way. I hate that. I hate when people are talking to a monitor instead of the camera, but I want to look at you and not a camera. Um, and so I think if there's a message in that, it was like I really like and care about thinking about, I think, as filmmakers, as artists, as jugglers, as actors, as whatever the thing is that we decide to say that we're going to do. I think a lot of us give a lot of value and power to the art of it, the art of acting, the art of filmmaking, the art of storytelling, the art of all of this, whatever that thing is. And it becomes this thing when you're thinking about creating something for the art of blank. It means you're doing it to serve yourself because you think the art of what you are doing is important. The art of acting is typically from snobby actors who are, yes, talented and skilled in what they're doing, but they're doing it because they're on this like high horse theatrical artist thing, or painters or whatever. And this isn't a jab at them. It's going to sound like a jab at a lot of those worlds, and it's not intended to be that. But I think it's really important. It is very important for me that I don't consider myself an artist. I consider myself an entertainer, because I care zero about the art of filmmaking. I care zero about the art of podcasting. I care zero about the art of juggling. I care zero about the art of anything unless that art that I create delivers something that audiences want to come back to for more. So an artist creates for himself or herself because that's the calling of an artist, is to create. And that's great. There's people who choose to do that. But if you're an artist and you've been called to create, you don't have the right to ask audiences to pay attention. If you're doing art, you're doing that as a therapeutic thing. And again, that's fine if that's what you choose, but then you can't be mad at your audience if they don't like your art. But if you're an entertainer, you're still doing art, but you're doing it, instead of for yourself, you're doing it for the audience, and the audience is the only thing that matters. Then you have a new lens to see the art that you're creating. And then you can say, oh, if the audience didn't pay attention or didn't like this, that's not their fault. That's my fault. Now I have a new lens. I can change the way that I'm presenting my art that actually is benefiting the audience. Because if they don't tune into my live stream, or they don't come back to next week's live stream, that wasn't, I can't blame them, which a lot of artists blame the audience. Oh, they don't get it. Well, they might get it, they just might not like it. And again, that's fine if you want to be an artist, but if you want to be an entertainer serves the audience. And that's what I'm interested in.
You
And
posted a few months ago on Facebook. I feel like this kind of ties into this. And I thought it was really interesting because I've been in this situation before. You said you went to a show and the artist that was playing the longest up there, or something like that, just took it upon themselves for it to be a therapy session rather than like sharing their art. And I was like, it is a selfish act. Like you're you're abandoning your art in favor of trying to talk out your problems. But secondly, you're just you're wasting people's time almost. They came there to watch a show, you know?
yeah, if you need therapy, go to therapy. If you want to
Mhm.
put on a show, put on a show. Nothing wrong with either of those. But if you need therapy, don't ask the audience to pay attention.
Mhm.
And again, I don't, that sounds harsh. And in a way, I'm intending it and I'm mindfully doing that. But I'm also want to be very clear that like there's not things shameful about like needing things from other people and needing things for
Yeah,
yourself
absolutely.
and needing to serve yourself. That's fine. But I think a lot of people are going on live streams right now because we don't have stages anymore. A lot of people are going on live streams to be therapeutic to themselves. And that's not what a live stream is for. A live stream is to broadcast something to the audience that makes their life better.
Mhm.
And when you
Have
start seeing
you
things through that lens, I think you're seeing that through the lens. You're not doing this for yourself. You can call all your friends every night and chat with them. You're doing this because you think sharing other people's stories is going to be helpful to other creators.
Absolutely. Have you heard of, the comedian Bo Burnham?
Yeah.
So, have you seen Make Happy? His newest special?
Um,
I shouldn't say new, it's like 4 years old now.
I watched something actually with Mary Beth recently. We watched
Nice.
one of his specials because she recommended it, and I don't remember if it's that one or not. But
So, Make Happy, I think, is one of the greatest pieces of art I've seen in, like, the 2010s. And the reason is the as at the very end of the show, the whole show is hilarious. I love it, but it's the very last one. He does this song, but before he does the song, he talks to the audience directly. He like sits down and he says like, or he pretty much exposes himself in a way. He says like, I love doing this art, but the thing I hate the most is you guys. Like I have this need to please you, and I have this need to but also or this need to please myself, but at the same time I have to please you. So it's just this never-ending cycle. And then he talks about um, the only thing he ever knew in his life was performing, and he was so afraid to do shows like this because a lot of his jokes are about performing, and like a lot of the punchlines are only in his performance. So he thought he was afraid people wouldn't get it, and then he realized if people even if you're not a performer, you're a performer. Like, social media was created because we had a whole generation that wanted to perform so bad and have their voices be heard, and they're just like, "Here, perform all the time for no reason." And it gets like you're just talking into a void almost, like only 2 or 3 people might wanna hear you online, and whenever you're wanting, like, 10,000 people to hear you. So, there's so many people that are going into these professions for the wrongest reasons. And it's so poetic and beautiful, man. Like, I can't recommend it enough to people.
yeah, I think that is the one that we saw, and I remember watching
Mhm,
through it. And again, I was watching it with Mary Beth, and like it like had this turn in it, and I remember turning to her. I was like, "Oh, he hates this." And then like two songs later, he starts going into that, and I was, oh, I saw it happening. I saw
mhm.
exactly where he was going, and like, not that he. And again, it's like, yeah, that it's like such a because it's like such a meta thing of like, yeah, he's there to serve his audience, but also he realized that like that's the best way to maybe to serve his audience is to like do what he wants and kind of says screw the audience and then not do the show anymore and like do his thing. And it is a very fascinating like twist on that concept. Yeah, it was really cool to see
Absolutely.
how he did that.
like I'm always interested. Like I remember watching a documentary about Robin Williams. I was like, did he really love performing? Did he love people, or was he doing it selfishly? And uh, after watching it, I was like, what an incredible man! Like he genuinely loved people and loved making people laugh. Like that was his favorite thing in the world. Like people would literally call the dude and be like, Robin, can you please make me laugh? I'm having such a bad day. And he would just do it. He would just tell them a funny story or something. And I think that's a beautiful thing. Like the world needs entertainers. And I saw a post the other day that said, and it was pretty much a bash at people that say like entertainers and artists, they're not needed in this world. We need like, construction workers, farmers and stuff. And while we do need those things, remember in this time where you turned. You turned to artists and you turn to people that can make you laugh. That's why TikTok is like blowing up more now than ever. So
Yeah. So yeah, so I don't know if you're trying to get off this live stream, but I'll double down on that one in that.
yeah, go ahead.
So here's a double the double turn on that meme that's like popping around is like if anyone ever said entertainers are useless, who are we turning to now? Netflix and YouTube and live streamers and all that. And every single person that I saw post that was like a struggling, starving artist. And it was very fascinating to me. I actually wanted to create a whole like post about it because they were doing it what they were doing like unintentionally, in my opinion, was like actually sabotaging their self. Like, don't post that meme, because I think they were missing the point of like trying to make themselves more important. So what is that actually? So for me, the only thing that matters is the audience experience. My only job is to give my audience a better experience. And if I do, that post is like thoughtful, but it's also coming from some people who was a little bit complainy. It was like, well, oh, you're saying entertainers aren't important. Well, then you don't get to watch Netflix. It came from a little bit of a complainy point. I'm like, what is that actually? If you're a true entertainer and you're here for your audience, you would never post that meme, because it's not actually serving the audience. It's trying to make you more important as an artist. So I think it was a very fascinating, and people obviously weren't coming at it from like a selfish thing. It was like trying to be thoughtful, but I would never post that, because I guess I should only talk for myself. I shouldn't say other people shouldn't post it or whatever, because that's selfishly putting my views onto other people. So I should only speak for myself. And I'm aware of sometimes I speak generally for what artists should do. And I want to make that clear of like, from my point of view, me as a creator, that's the viewpoint that I'm always doing. And I very well could be completely wrong. And at the end of my life, I say, well, I made a mistake and that was wrong. And I'm going to have to apologize. So to be clear, so don't yell at me, internet. Reddit, don't yell at me. But I think I may die on that mountain of saying, you only get 1 to 5 posts a day that people are going to listen to. And if one of those is, hey, I'm important. Hey, who are you turning to at this point? And artists are important. Now you just burned one of your at bats of people paying attention to what you're going to post on Facebook today. And if you think that if we think that we are important as entertainers, I think that we should spend that at bat, that 1 to 5 at bats that we have per day that people might happen to see our posts on Facebook. Why don't we post something that makes people want to come back for our entertainment or our art or whatever we create, instead of doing a complainy post about how important we are? Why don't you do a juggling video in your living room? Why don't you host a podcast? Why don't you do a videography tutorial? Or why don't you do a lighting tutorial of how you light your YouTube videos? Or why don't you encourage other people to create something rather than say, hey, art is important. We know no one ever in the history of humans said art isn't important. So you're battling this argument that no one ever is arguing.
Mhm.
Everyone agrees that Netflix is freaking awesome. I can watch anything I ever want, anytime ever. And so it's like, hey, I'm important. Don't tell me I'm not important. And everyone's like, no, we didn't. We love Netflix. We love YouTube. We love your podcast. Like, that's why we're reading the post that you did. So it was like one of those things of a double-edged sword of like, yeah, this is important. Artists are important. Creators are important. But only if you're creating, not if you're complaining.
Mm-hmm. I also want to be clear, I did not share that meme. uh,
Somebody's mad at me right now, and I'm okay with it.
no, dude, everything you said was very truthful, and you definitely, like, I didn't think about that when I read that. I guess I read it more because, like, I don't know, like, every now and then I'll see people that are like, um, I guess maybe that post, I don't know what the original intention was. I don't know the person that came up with it. I feel like it might be coming from people that say stuff like, um, if we're gonna cut anything in this world, it needs to be like movies and like football games and stuff like that. That may have been where it's coming from, but like I also see your point of view. Like and I kind of side with yours now more because you know, have you heard of the YouTuber iDubbbz?
No.
Okay, he's a he's under a lot of scrutiny that I won't get into right now, but so his girlfriend did something. He made a video defending her, and people started immediately turning against him because what he was saying was very antagonistic to his own audience. Like, so he's very known for like being this cool, edgy guy with like kind of like a nerdy edge. Like he's a really skinny white dude with glasses, and there was a part where he mentioned a tweet and somebody said like, I used to think iDubbbz was cool, but now he's not. And then he looks at his camera and he's like, you thought I was cool? You thought this was cool whenever, and now he's like making fun of his audience for thinking that he was cool. And it's just like, that's not what you do, man. Don't turn people against you in this time.
Hmm.
But yeah, I'm totally siding with you, man. Like I would rather post videos and have people just have fun with my content rather than trying to get political or try to, bring in this crazy argument that doesn't need to be presented.
Yeah. If you want, and I think to circle that back and tie it up here, so we don't go for 2 hours. What I said at the beginning is what I liked about and impressed by your show of what you've been doing is you're not doing it to show that YouTubers and famous social media people and all this. It's like you could be presenting it in that way, but you're doing it in a way that is actually delivering. Creators are going to be inspired because they're going to come across a world of like, oh, I didn't know you could be a juggler. And
a
that
filmmaker.
and a filmmaker or a viner or a Disney princess or a person who builds a film house in the weird part of Atlanta or whatever. All the people that you've brought on is like, they're all people. They're like, oh, I didn't know that was even a thing that you could do with your life. So it's super cool to see. Yeah. And I think, I'm certainly well aware of like the last 5 minutes of what I said. People are like, hey, shut up, asshole. Don't attack.
I'm not saying that.
And I think it's like, I think people that know me know that I'm not like attacking artists. I'm just like encouraging people to actually make their audience's day better instead of making their day better, because in turn, the world is a mirror. When you make your audience's day better, that is always reciprocated, and the audience in turn makes your day better.
That's awesome. I think that's a good note to leave on. Chris, why don't you tell everyone where to find you and like what's your website? Where can we find your podcast? Where can we find your new variety show that rules?
Yeah, so I'm working on that's traditionally been a hard question for me to answer. So If you go to betweendreamsmedia.com, that's my new hub for everything. So betweendreamsmedia.com will keep you updated with all the podcasts, multiple podcasts, some of the short films that I've made. And there's going to be a new section. I'll work on it right now because I just advertise it to the world. There'll be also a section for the virtual variety show, which you can watch every Friday on my Facebook page.
Awesome.
And YouTube and Twitch, maybe.
Yeah, heck yeah, do Twitch. Chris Ruggiero, everybody, thank you so much for joining. I think we had 10 people at one point, which was awesome. Thank you to the 6 people that stayed mostly throughout. So this is a great episode, man. Can't wait to post it. It'll be on YouTube tomorrow. All of my stuff, all the episodes will always be uploaded to my YouTube channel, youtube.com/portabletrevor. And yeah, please sub to me on Twitch. Please follow me, subscribe on YouTube, and hope you have a blessed day. Bye.